Tuesday night, 1FM's evening session. We're joined now in the studio by Jim and William Reid from the Jesus and Mary Chain for our Tuesday night interrogation. I suppose the first thing we have to start off with is, where have you been for 2 years? 2 years since the last album.
Well, one of those 2 years was spent actually making this album. It really did almost take a year to make. And we've been to far away and exotic lands also, Japan, etc., Lollapalooza.
Do you find it's odd that people, when you go out of the public eye, they presume that you're in fact sitting at home not doing much, but apart from watching daytime TV?
Yeah, I think that's weird. I think it's strange. If you paint pictures, people know you're working, he paints pictures, whatever. If you're a songwriter, you've got to have a year or so to write an album, and people think you're just going to gigs and watching Coronation Street, and which you do, but in between that, you write songs. There's got to be space in your life to do that, and it hurts your mind to write songs.
Is there as well a come down period after Honey's Dead? Did you find that, right, okay, we've done that, now we've got to go away for a bit, because obviously you need some new experience to write about?
Yeah, well, usually what happens, you do the record and you're on tour for too long, and then you get off a tour and suddenly you realise hey, people want another record, and do we have any songs? And usually the answer is no, not at the moment. So yeah, it's you don't sit around on your arse doing nothing. We never do that. There's always something going on. And it doesn't really, if you're sitting at home with a guitar trying to write a tune, that's certainly not doing nothing.
The new LP is called Stoned and Dethroned. Did you approach it in a different way to previous albums?
Yeah, because it was more of a kind of band thing going on. Usually it was me and him fumbling around the studio saying you play the bass, and me going, no, you do it, that kind of thing. So this time we had Ben, who's Ben Lurie, he's been playing with us live for a few years, and we got him in the studio with Monty out a curve and stuff, and we done it more like a band, and we've never done it as a band before, so all you need is the basics, it's the rest is just wanking, do you know what I mean? I don't know what it is, people learn too much in this business. They feel as if that you can't make a good record until you've spent 15 years learning how to play a guitar, and I think those are the worst kind of records. I think something like Suicide's first album, if those guys knew what they were doing, it would have been crap. They were feeling their way around, and it was all imagination and inspiration, not a music lesson in sight.
Is it a struggle then, not turning into a bunch of musos almost, who know too much about how to make records?
It's really easy.
It's not really a struggle. We're pretty incompetent all round.
What, still?
Yeah. I've been playing the guitar for 17 years, and I know I can't play as good as any 18-year-old who's started lessons last year, and I don't care. You make your own space and you do what you can in that space. The songs are pretty simple in structure, but sometimes it's the hardest thing to be simple. It's the first Ramones album was so bloody simple, and even they lost it. They couldn't do it on the second record or the third or the fourth. Did
you ever worry at any time that the Jesus and Mary Chain might turn into the sort of band that you would have hated as a kid?
Nah, because that's not even something that I ever even thought about. It's we make the music today for the same reasons we made it in 1984 when we started making records. We just make music that we want to hear.
But kind of, yeah. It's when you're 15, you kind of hope that you're not going to have a moustache when you're 30. You know what I mean? It's kind of like that.
Could you imagine when a band gets to your level that at some point they're going to have a midlife crisis?
But what is a midlife crisis? See, if you die at 40, do you have a midlife crisis at 20? How do you know when your midlife is?
It's when you start questioning all the reasons why you started doing this, and you find yourself waking up in the morning somewhere on tour thinking, well, are we just turning into all the things we set out to not be?
I don't think that's as we've ever seen it, but yeah, we've always had doubts and questions about where we're going as a group. Any good? That started before the group,
Yeah. A new album which is called Stoned and Dethroned, with guest stars on this new album. Tell us a bit about that. You've got Hope Sandoval from Mazzy Star, also Shane MacGowan.
Yeah, the Hope thing came about. We'd done a tour years ago she was in a band called Opal. And we just thought her voice was really good, and we meant to ask her to do something with sing on one of our tracks, and we didn't, not for another, it was a couple of years later. We just like said, do you want to do something? She said, yeah. And then a few more years went past, and then we came up with the right song, basically, and that was it.
Right place, right time.
And Shane was just like, we were just like fans of the Pogues, basically, and we thought it'd be a great idea to get Shane singing on a Mary Chain song, so...
It's the perfect song for how people perceive him as well, God help me, do you think?
Yeah, I think it is. I can't imagine like that, you know, us recording that without Shane now, do you know what I mean? So, I don't think it was written for him, but it could have been, you know.
Because it's almost like casting a character for a part in a play, I suppose, almost. You've got this song, is that how you did it?
No.
There was a nod there, as if to say yes, and then a no.
The song was about me and my pathetic life, and God help me, really.
Okay, so that's God help me, but there seems to be plenty of self-loathing and selfishness in the lyrics on this album. Is that a state of mind where you were at when you were writing it?
More like self-pity. You get to a certain age, and if things aren't right in your life, I think you start to worry about it, and you start to maybe you overanalyze. And if you're a songwriter, you write songs about it. Yeah, I'm of a certain age where
it's getting back to your midlife crisis now, isn't it?
Yeah, where things, not too many things make sense.
Well, that's kind of what I meant earlier on. It's the idea that all of a sudden you wake up of a morning and you actually think, well, what am I doing? Where? How many people have I sort of left behind? And where do I go? And how do I treat my friends?
I don't really think I've ever been really satisfied with the way the world works. You know, so I mean, I don't think there's any. That's back to what I was saying earlier, that we do things for the same reasons, and it means the same thing as what it did, whatever it means in 1984 or 1994. The world for me has never been a comfortable place.
Do you find yourself reassessing your own situation, though? That seems to me the point in time where this album fits in. I
think the thing that worries me about like life going on is you just think you're getting to understand the way things work, and then suddenly you understand you know nothing, and that just keeps going on and on and on. And each time it happens, you just like that bit more like confused and despondent than what you were before. It's kind of like when I was 20, I was thinking, I don't like this. You know, there's a lot of stuff going on that I don't really find acceptable. But you know, by the time you get to 32, which I am now, you're just like, geez, you know, it's like.
You know, that's a good title. That's a good title for the record, Confused and Despondent.
Shouldn't have been Stoned and Dethroned at all. Because as glib as it may sound, Stoned and Dethroned actually sounds like you sort of walking out of the rock and roll circus with the gate swinging behind you. And then there's a big world out there.
It's
you know what I mean?
It's not meant to be a drug. I mean, the word stoned is not a druggy thing. It's being beaten up.
Is it Christians and Lions?
It's kind of like that, you know. Everybody tells us we kind of changed music in the 80s, you know, like with Psycho Candy or whatever. Ever since then, we've been pissed upon, you know. I think so.
Perversely, though, and finally, do you still hope that records surprise people, your Jason and Mary Chain albums, when they get to somebody, there is an element, not exactly of shock as it was in the early days, but surprise? I
think the kind of the equivalents of us before we were in this band, they're all out there. I mean, there's like a bunch of people out there that know what we are doing. Do you know what I mean? It's like they might not write a review in any music paper, but they know exactly why we made this record, and they'll buy it. And you know, I'd like it to be like millions of people, but if it's a few thousand, then that's okay. As long as somebody out there knows why you made this record, then fantastic, you know.
You're beginning to sound like you're going to get a chip on your shoulder in your old age.
Well, this is my old age, and yeah, I've got a chip on my shoulder.
Jim and William Reid from the Jason and Mary Chain, thanks very much for coming in.